when a single knock at the door reveals hidden schemes, forbidden power, and an old sect's desperate gamble. Han Li realizes that this war is no longer just about survival, it's about fate itself. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really motivates me to keep creating. Han Li let out a soft sigh and said helplessly, "Why haven't you and Senior Marshal Brother Lu left as we discussed? If I hadn't returned, things might have ended very differently." His gaze shifted to Mu Peeling, and a faint smile curved his lips. "But I truly didn't expect you to break through your bottleneck so quickly. Congratulations on reaching the mid-foundation establishment stage. I was only able to break through by chance half a month ago, thanks to the medicinal pills my lord bestowed upon me. Otherwise, it would never have been possible." Mu Paling spoke with unconcealed excitement, her radiant expression making her appear even more beautiful. Han Li felt his heart stir slightly and instinctively raised a hand to rub his nose, steadying his thoughts. After a brief pause, Han Li asked casually, "Your prolonged stay in Soaring Heaven's City with Senior Marshal Brother Lu, does it have something to do with the spell warriors?" Mu Paling bit her lower lip and answered carefully, "My lord has already guessed correctly. Senior Lu and I originally planned to return once the trade fair concluded, but who could have expected news of the spell warrior invasion to spread before it ended? As a nascent soul cultivator of the Heavenly Tao Alliance, Senior Lu had no choice but to remain behind and discuss countermeasures. With the other major powers, I stayed as well. In that case, I can hardly fault you." Han Li nodded, then continued, "But where is Senior Marshal Brother Lu?" Mid-sentence, his expression suddenly changed, and his words trailed off. Mu Paling was startled by his abrupt pause. Before she could understand what Han Li had sensed, a young man's voice rang out from beyond the building. "Fellow Taoist Mu, are you inside? I am Bai Shujun. I wish to discuss something with you." Han Li swept his spiritual sense outward and quickly discovered a scholarly-looking, core formation cultivator standing just outside the building's restrictions. With a contemplative look, he asked, "Who is this? It seems you've made quite the acquaintance." The moment Mu Peeling heard the voice, her face instantly paled. She hurriedly explained, "My lord, please do not misunderstand. This person is a disciple of an elder from the Heaven Peak sect. We met unintentionally a few days ago, and ever since then he has pestered me without cease. I've already told him that I am your concubine, yet he continues to harass me. I will drive him away at once." Han Li raised an eyebrow. "So that is how it is. Does Senior Marshal Brother Lu know of this?" Relieved that Han Li showed no sign of anger, Mu Peeling let out a quiet breath and replied, "I have already informed Senior Lu, but he seems to recognize that elder of the Heaven Peak sect and appears somewhat wary of him. For the time being, he left me to handle this matter on my own, waiting for my lord's return before taking further action." After a brief silence, Han Li let out a cold chuckle. "Oh, the Heaven Peak sect, one of the 4 great sects of the righteous Tao Alliance. No wonder Senior Marshal Brother Lu handled this with caution. Still, for a mere core formation cultivator to act so recklessly, he must be quite bold." He turned slightly. "Come with me. Let us see what this junior truly intends." Mu Paling bowed respectfully. "As you command, master." Without another word, Han Li descended to the ground floor, Mu Paling following closely behind him. "Fellow Taoist Mu, this senior is—" When Bai Shujun saw someone emerge, he initially thought it was the woman he admired. But upon seeing Han Li and sensing his profound cultivation, his expression changed drastically. Mu Paling stepped to Han Li's side and stood quietly behind him. Seeing this, Bai Shujun's expression flickered several times. Han Li's face darkened as he spoke bluntly. "You are a disciple of the Heaven Peak sect." Despite facing a nascent soul cultivator, Bai Shujun quickly regained his composure, revealing no small amount of cunning. With a courteous tone, he replied, "That is correct. This junior is a disciple of Elder Lu of the Heaven Peak sect." "Might you be Senior Han?" "Speak," Han Li said coldly. "What is your true purpose in coming here? Why do you harass my concubine without end? You must have some ulterior motive. No one would commit such a foolish act without reason." The harshness of Han Li's words caused a trace of shock to appear on Mu Paling's face. Bai Shujun smiled faintly and replied with practiced eloquence, "Senior is indeed perceptive. In truth, my master wishes to meet you. However, since there had been no news of Senior Han, this junior resorted to such measures." Still, I am genuinely fond of fellow Taoist Mu. If Senior were willing to accommodate me, I would be endlessly grateful. Grateful. Han Li let out a cold laugh. What use is your gratitude wake from your delusions? I have no habit of gifting my own concubines to others, nor do I share any ties with your Heaven Peak sect. So tell me, why have you come seeking me? His eyes narrowed as he glanced toward an empty patch of air. A strange smile tugged at his lips, and in the next instant, a terrifying spiritual pressure erupted from his body. Bai Shujun staggered backward, his face drained of color. It felt as though a massive mountain had descended upon him. His legs buckled, forcing him to drop to one knee. Though he struggled desperately to resist, his body trembled violently, and his knees refused to steady themselves. Just then, a white figure suddenly appeared before him. A hand gently landed on Bai Shujun's shoulder, and in an instant, the crushing pressure vanished, allowing him to rise once more. The newcomer was an elderly man, dressed in white robes, his light grey hair framing a kindly face. He smiled at Han Li and said calmly, "Fellow Taoist Han, please do not be angered. My disciple merely acted under my instruction. Otherwise, how could I have gained the opportunity to meet you?" At the sight of the old man, the pressure around Han Li dissipated as if it had never existed. His expression returned to calm indifference. "And who might you be? Why do you wish to see me? If memory serves, this should be our first contact, and I have no dealings with your sect." Haha, the old man chuckled softly. "This old man is Lu Weiying, an elder of the Heaven Peak sect. As for the reason I sought you out, this is not a suitable place to discuss it. If fellow Taoist wishes to know, let us meet later tonight. By then everything will become clear." Without the slightest hint of displeasure, he flicked his sleeve and tossed a prepared green jade slip toward Han Li. Han Li expressionlessly raised his hand, catching the jade slip within a swirl of azure light. After briefly immersing his spiritual sense, he discovered a location recorded within it. When he looked up to inquire further, the old man had already clasped his hands in farewell and departed, Bai Shujun following behind him. Han Li frowned slightly. The elder's behavior was shrouded in mystery, and it seemed they believed Han Li had been hiding within Soaring Heaven City all along. Rubbing his chin, Han Li felt the matter was far from simple. For now, he chose not to dwell on it and led Mu Peiling back into their residence. Once inside the pavilion, he asked calmly, as though the earlier incident had already been cast aside, "Where is Senior Marshal Brother Lu at present?" "I heard the battle situation has grown dire," Mu Peiling replied. Senior Lu went to discuss countermeasures with the other major powers. Han Li's interest was piqued. "Where is this discussion taking place?" "At the official hall of Soaring Heaven City. I heard that only nascent soul cultivators affiliated with superpowers are permitted to attend. Does my lord wish to go take a look?" The official hall. Han Li recalled the immense palace at the city's center, heavily layered with restrictive formations. "Very well. I would like to see how the matter of the spell warriors is being handled." After making his decision, he instructed, "Wait here. Do not leave without reason." With that, he departed toward the location of his senior marshal brother Lu. The official hall stood as a towering structure, at the heart of Soaring Heaven City, impossible to overlook. Unless the fate of the Nine Nations Union hung in the balance, it was rarely ever used. But now, with the Mulan launching another invasion after a century-long ceasefire, the upper echelons of the Nine Nations Union wasted no time reopening the hall and convening, with cultivators from various powers. Faced with the overwhelming might of the Mulan spell warriors, it was clear the Nine Nations Union could not stand alone. When Han Li arrived before the hall, a guard at the entrance sensed his cultivation and requested his name before reporting it. Shortly after, permission was granted, and a cultivator respectfully led him inside. There were not as many nascent soul cultivators present as Han Li had expected, only a little over a dozen. However, he understood that while many nascent soul cultivators had gathered in Soaring Heaven City, there was no need for every one of them to attend personally. Representatives were sufficient. Senior Marshal Brother Lu was seated on the left side. Upon seeing Han Li, he smiled warmly. Seated closely beside him was the child fire dragon. Aside from a yellow-robed old man, the others were unfamiliar to Han Li. After giving the old man a second glance, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. That man was none other than Marshal Ancestor Linghu of Yellow Maple Valley. When Marshal Ancestor Linghu noticed Han Li, not the slightest change appeared on his face. It was impossible to tell whether he was concealing his emotions behind profound shrewdness, or if he truly failed to recognize the former Foundation establishment disciple of the past. Han Li's gaze swept across the hall. At its center sat an old man with a purple complexion alongside a gorgeously dressed woman clad in palace robes. When Han Li brushed them with his spiritual sense, his heart gave a sudden tremor. Both were cultivators at the mid-nascent soul stage, the foremost representatives of the Nine Nations Union. As Han Li examined the other cultivators present, they too were quietly scrutinizing him. Most of them were visibly surprised by his youthful appearance. After all, few male cultivators practiced techniques meant to preserve one's youthful looks. The drifting cloud sect's elder Lu smiled and called out, "Junior Marshal Brother Han, you finally arrived. Please take a seat. We were just discussing the Mulan invasion with Sect Master Wu." The child fire dragon also smiled gently and gave a courteous nod. Han Li returned the gesture, smiling as he clasped his hands in greeting toward the others in the hall, before taking a seat beside Senior Marshal Brother Lu. The purple-faced cultivator seated across from him smiled warmly and spoke. "So this is fellow Taoist Han of the Drifting Cloud Sect. I am Wu Peng, Sect Master of the Enlightened Leaf Sect. Brother Lu just told us that fellow Taoist advanced to the nascent soul stage after merely 200 years of cultivation. Truly, you are a rare genius of the heavenly south. Perhaps the great Tao itself will favor you with extraordinary success." Although Han Li's cultivation was still a realm lower than his own, Wu Peng did not dare underestimate Han Li's future potential. "Sect Master Wu flatters me," Han Li replied calmly. "I merely advanced through a stroke of fortune. I would not dare speak of attainments upon the great Tao, since the Enlightened Leaf Sect stood shoulder to shoulder with the Flowing Mind Sect within the Nine Nations Union." Han Li maintained a respectful distance and did not grow overly familiar. As he spoke, his gaze naturally shifted toward the beautiful middle-aged woman beside Wu Peng. Given Wu Peng's identity, it was clear that she was a cultivator of the Flowing Mind Sect. As Han Li pondered this, Wu Peng sighed softly and said, "This is Lady Qi of the Flowing Mind Sect. She oversees matters of the Nine Nations Union alongside me." As for the other fellow Taoists present, he proceeded to introduce the remaining cultivators one by one. When Marshal Ancestor Linghu was mentioned, he merely offered a curt acknowledgement, showing nothing out of the ordinary. Han Li felt a faint stir in his heart, but he only nodded in response. Once the introductions concluded, Wu Peng's expression turned solemn. "Fellow Taoist Han, you've arrived at just the right moment. We were discussing how the strength of the Mulan spell warriors far exceeds our initial expectations. Elder Yu and the others have already reported suffering a major defeat. 2 critical regions are on the brink of losing their grand formations to the massive beasts controlled by the Mulan. Casualties have been heavy. Even fellow Taoist Huan of the Shadow Form sect has fallen. He is the 3rd nascent soul cultivator to perish in this war. Under such an overbearing assault, assistance from all powers has become urgently necessary." The smiles vanished from the faces of those present. A heavy, oppressive silence settled over the hall. An elderly man in green robes with a sharp, narrow nose spoke grimly. "Sect Master Wu, we too have obtained some intelligence, having dispatched disciples according to the pact. However, we still lack concrete information regarding the circumstances behind fellow Taoist Feng's defeat. Could Brother Wu provide a detailed explanation?" He paused, his voice tinged with disbelief. So many nascent soul cultivators falling in such a short span of time is unfathomable. Could it be that high-grade spell warriors have already taken action? Han Li gave the old man another look. From Wu Peng's earlier introduction, this person was an elder of the Devil Dao's controlling spirit sect. Han Li could not tell whether he bore any connection to Liu Yu or Han Yunji. Wu Peng answered with a peculiar expression, "We have yet to confirm whether the Mulan's high-grade cultivators are acting in full force. However, fellow Taoist Feng and fellow Taoist Qin were both verified to have fallen in single combat. They were not overwhelmed by numbers." The green-robed elder's face changed dramatically. Impossible. Even if they faced a mid-nascent soul spell warrior, they should have been able to escape with their lives. Could it be that the Mulan divine sages have begun to intervene? Already anticipating this question, Wu Peng replied without hesitation, "No, their opponents were only early nascent soul spell warriors. However, they were abnormal. Their spiritual techniques far exceeded those of others at the same stage, and they wielded an extremely peculiar treasure. The moment the 2 fellow Taoists manifested their nascent souls, That treasure trapped them, preventing instantaneous movement and sealing their fate. A chill ran through the green-robed elder's spine. What kind of treasure can restrain a nascent soul's instantaneous movement? An ancient treasure, a magic artifact. Expressions throughout the hall changed drastically. The greatest difficulty in killing a nascent soul cultivator lay in how easily the nascent soul could flee once manifested. The mere existence of such a restraining treasure was deeply unsettling. Our disciples who witnessed the battle couldn't see it clearly. Wu Peng continued hesitating. But when it activated, it emitted a brief red-black radiance and seemed utterly unstoppable. Furthermore, he trailed off. The green-robed elder frowned unhappily. Fellow Taoist Wu matters have already reached this point. What is there left to hesitate over? Lady Qi of the Flowing Mind sect smiled gently and spoke on Wu Peng's behalf. It is not that Brother Wu hesitates to speak, only that the matter remains uncertain. Allow me to explain. Han Li's interest was thoroughly piqued, as were the others. Lady Qi sighed softly and continued. Disciples observing the battles noticed that those two nascent soul spell warriors appeared to feed upon the souls of the fallen, regardless of whether the souls belonged to cultivators or spell warriors. Because of this, Sect Master Wu suspects that they may not be human at all, but rather some form of heretical transformation. She paused briefly. However, they did not emit any obvious demonic or ghostly qi, preventing our disciples from making a definitive judgment. Additionally, the sudden appearance of those enormous, fearsome beasts among the Mulan ranks seems tied to these new spell warriors. We suspect the Mulan have begun collaborating with other powers, which would explain the unprecedented scale of their invasion into the heavenly south. The hall fell into stunned silence. Martial Ancestor Linghu spoke gravely. Not human Lady Qi suggests they are transformed demon beasts. Wupong nodded solemnly. That is the most likely explanation. Even if they are not demon beasts, they may be heretical cultivators of the ghost or demon Tao. Either possibility would be far more troublesome than ordinary transformations. Han Li's expression shifted slightly as he spoke slowly. When did Sect Master Wu obtain this information? Wu Peng blinked in surprise, stroking his long beard. It came from the report of the most recent battle. Why does fellow Taoist Han ask? Han Li rested his chin in his hand, his gaze distant. It is nothing. I merely feel that whether these unfamiliar spell warriors are human or demon, they clearly do not fear exposing their identities, given how boldly they acted at the very outset of the war. He continued evenly. This suggests the Mulan do not intend to fight a prolonged war of attrition as they did in the past. Instead, they will likely strike with overwhelming force, seeking decisive engagements with our main forces. Could it be that a great change has occurred within the Mulan plains? Wu Peng and Lady Qi exchanged astonished glances. The expressions of the other cultivators darkened as well. They all grasped the implication behind Han Li's words. In past invasions, the Mulan had always waged wars of attrition. Short wars lasted years, long ones dragged on for decades. Both sides deliberately avoided direct clashes between their main forces. As such, battles would result in devastating losses even in victory. Neither the Heavenly South nor the Mulan spell warriors were willing to pay such a price. This was especially true given that the Mulan consisted of many tribes. While the Heavenly South was formed of grand alliances of sects of varying strength, neither side could act in perfect unity. But now the Mulan advanced with overwhelming force. Combined with the appearance of massive sage beasts and strange new spell warriors, the change was unmistakable. After a long silence, Wu Peng gave a bitter smile and spoke gravely. Brother Han's analysis is sound. Something is indeed amiss within the Mulan. We cannot afford complacency. The sects of the Heavenly South must quickly form a second army to reinforce the Nine Nations Union. Otherwise, the Mulan will break through and shatter us completely. He looked around the hall. I hope all fellow Taoists will return to their sects at once and relay this information. The Nine Nations Union cannot hold out much longer. After pondering for a moment, Lady Qi spoke slowly. Although fellow Taoist Han's words are very likely correct, they remain speculation for now. I hope all fellow Taoists will confine such discussions to nascent soul cultivators only lest unnecessary panic arise. However, if the Mulan truly intend to force a grand confrontation, their divine sages will inevitably take action. Those late nascent soul stage spell warriors are not opponents we can contend with. She paused briefly before continuing. I will inform Elder Wei Wuya of this matter and see whether the three great cultivators can gather to address it. A shriveled old man nodded anxiously. Lady Qi speaks reasonably. This matter is urgent. Once we return, we will immediately report this to our sect. The other cultivators voiced their agreement as well, all fully aware of the gravity of the situation. Afterward, they discussed several specific arrangements and ultimately decided to dispatch reinforcements to slow the Mulan advance, buying time for the various powers to prepare. Han Li's senior martial brother Lu and the child fire dragon left the hall together. Once outside, Han Li suddenly frowned. Elder Lu noticed and asked in surprise, "Is something troubling you, junior martial brother?" "It's nothing," Han Li replied calmly. "An old acquaintance wishes to see me. I'm afraid it may take a little time." Senior martial brother Lu, "Brother Lan, please go on ahead. I'll return shortly." Elder Lu nodded with a smile. "Of course. We'll first gather the cultivators of the Heavenly Tao Alliance to discuss matters. Then send word back to our senior martial brother. We'll see how the Alliance's sects intend to respond." The child fire dragon echoed with a smile. Han Li clasped his hands in farewell and slowly walked away. Elder Lu remained standing at the entrance of the hall, gazing in the direction Han Li had departed. "Is Brother Lu worried about something?" the child fire dragon asked, a faintly enigmatic smile on his face. Though unease stirred within him, Elder Lu maintained a calm exterior. "Worried? What is there to worry about?" The child fire dragon chuckled softly. Brother Lu should already have guessed. Fellow Taoist Han was originally from Yellow Maple Valley, and that eccentric Linghu, like your own senior martial brother, is nearing the end of his lifespan. As the sole nascent soul cultivator of Yellow Maple Valley, he must already be burning with anxiety. He continued evenly. For a small sect, this might not matter, but for a sect as large as Yellow Maple Valley, losing the protection of a nascent soul cultivator could easily spell extermination. It would be strange indeed if eccentric Linghu were not the one who sent that voice transmission to Han Li. Elder Lu did not respond immediately. After pondering for a moment, he asked, "How does Brother Lan know of junior martial brother Han's origins?" "I don't recall mentioning them." "There was no need," the child fire dragon replied bluntly. "When your sect suddenly gained a young, newly ascended elder, our ancient sword sect naturally investigated." Elder Lu fell silent. After a long pause, he shook his head and said, "Junior martial brother Han only mentioned meeting an old acquaintance. If he truly intended to return to Yellow Maple Valley, he would have done so long ago. He wouldn't have waited until now." "That may be true," the child fire dragon replied, shaking his head. "But eccentric Linghu is a crafty old fox. Since he invited Han Li, he must have some confidence in persuading him." Elder Lu grew quiet once more. Eventually a troubled expression surfaced, and he sighed softly. "Let fate decide. If junior martial brother Han truly wishes to return to Yellow Maple Valley, what could my senior martial brother or I possibly do to stop him?" Han Li stood within a remote, narrow street, calmly surveying his surroundings. His gaze soon settled upon a two-story pavilion, no more than 20 meters wide. A small banner hung at its entrance, bearing a single character T. Two Foundation establishment cultivators in yellow robes stood guard outside. Han Li smiled faintly and walked toward them. Upon seeing him, the two immediately bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Senior Han Martial Ancestor is awaiting you inside." Han Li nodded and entered without a word. The interior was eerily quiet, as though devoid of people. After a brief hesitation, Han Li ascended to the second floor, where someone was already waiting. Dressed in yellow robes with a sallow complexion, Ancestor Linghu sat calmly at an octagonal table. In the center of the room, leisurely sipping tea, Han Li's gaze flickered. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and took a seat opposite him, noting that a teacup had already been prepared. Ancestor Linghu said nothing. With a casual wave of his hand, the teapot floated up, pouring tea into Han Li's cup before settling back down. Narrowing his eyes slightly, Ancestor Linghu studied Han Li and spoke slowly. "This spirit tea is of fine quality. Will you not have a taste?" Han Li smiled, lifting the cup to inspect the clear green liquid within. He took a sip and nodded. "Quite decent. Indeed, a grade above ordinary spirit teas." Ancestor Linghu set his own cup down and chuckled softly. "It seems fellow Taoist Han also appreciates tea. Then it appears I chose the right place to meet you." Uninterested in pleasantries, Han Li spoke bluntly. Surely you didn't invite me here merely to sample spirit tea. If you have something to say, then say it. Ancestor Linghu clearly recognized him. Han Li already knew why he had been summoned. Since fellow Taoist is so direct, I won't beat around the bush, Ancestor Linghu said calmly, as though discussing a trivial matter. Would fellow Taoist be willing to return to Yellow Maple Valley as an elder? Return to Yellow Maple Valley. Han Li showed no change in expression, merely lowering his gaze to the teacup in his hand. A sharp glint flashed through Ancestor Linghu's eyes as he continued slowly. Needless to mention the injustices you suffered in the past, I must tell you that my lifespan is nearly exhausted. At most, I have 20 years remaining. If you return, Yellow Maple Valley will be yours. Surely you haven't held on to such a minor grudge for so long. Han Li raised his head and met Ancestor Linghu's gaze before shaking his head. I no longer care about the past. If I were in your position, I might have acted the same way. However, I am now an elder of the Drifting Cloud sect. I have no intention of joining your sect. Fellow Taoist Linghu, you would do well to seek another cultivator. Ancestor Linghu gave a cold smile. Of course, I know you've joined the Drifting Cloud sect, but that sect already has 2 other elders. Mustn't you share authority? Wouldn't it be preferable to hold absolute power alone? Han Li pressed his lips together, a faint sneer forming. You misunderstand. I never entered a sect for authority. I only sought a suitable place for cultivation. I have no interest in controlling a sect. Ancestor Linghu frowned, but quickly regained his composure. Fellow Taoist Han fails to realize how beneficial soul authority can be to one's cultivation, he said evenly. You would never need to worry about rare medicines or materials, and your status in the cultivation world would be unparalleled. Moreover, do you truly feel nothing for your former sect? Many cultivators of your generation remain within Yellow Maple Valley. Without the protection of a nascent soul cultivator, they could be wiped out overnight by a coalition of other sects. Who knows what fate awaits them? Ancestor Linghu had finally turned to emotional persuasion. Han Li smiled faintly and replied indifferently, as an elder of the Drifting Cloud sect, I lack neither spirit medicines nor materials. As for status and reputation, such hollow things have never interested me. The rise and fall of sects has always been common. No matter how long they endure, all eventually fade, their legacies lost. He paused briefly before finishing calmly. As for my former sect members, I will not involve myself. May fate treat them kindly.